Oh, yeah.
Hey, everybody, it's Dale Jr. For the Dale Jr. Download. This is the Ask Junior portion of the show. Appreciate everybody tuning in. I hope you guys got some great questions. I'm sure you do. Mike's here. Leah's going to get us going, so let's get started.
Our first question coming from Zach Albright. What was it that sparked your interest for getting involved with the Nashville IndyCar ownership?
That's a great question. I appreciate you asking this. There is a really good friend of mine, Teddy Phillips, that's part of the ownership group. I became friends with him over probably the last year. And just think, I've just gotten to know the guy over the last probably 12 months. And he was telling me about his involvement. The opportunity came to me to be a part of it, and I thought it sounds like something fun that me and Teddy can do together, and I'll get to hang out with him a little bit more. So that was part of probably the biggest motivating factor of it. The other thing too is that I've been talking about hoping that one day NASCAR can get to the fairgrounds. We're going to go to the super speedway for a couple seasons in the near future. However long that happens, we don't know. We don't know whether we'll ever get to the fairgrounds, but a lot of people would like to see that, me included, obviously. And it was kind of a rising tide lifts all boats kind of thing. To be a part of, to kind of have an ear to the ground on how things are going to go for the IndyCar Series racing in town, how all that works with the government officials and so forth, and how everybody comes together to agree. It's a teaching moment for me, and to help me further understand the hurdles and obstacles that are in front of NASCAR to get to the fairgrounds, and to truly understand and appreciate the value of us being at the super speedway. And being able to celebrate our champion in Nashville. That's a great connection. It feels like a great fit for NASCAR. And I've always said and felt like that wherever we celebrate the champion, wherever we celebrate that defining moment where we acknowledge all the things that happened in our sport throughout the year, plus giving away that trophy to the driver that's won it, I think we should race in that town. We should showcase our product in that same town we do that celebrating in. So there's a lot, just a big teaching lesson for me, to be honest, to learn more about how all that comes together.
We're getting a lot of questions about Sunday's Daytona road course race. This one specifically from Abby. Do you think the yellow for rain was necessary on Sunday? It didn't look like the in-car camera showed much rain.
Yeah. I saw somebody called it the caution for a rainbow. I thought that was funny.
So everybody could look at it.
That's funny.
Caution!
Rainbow.
Double rainbow. Red flag. I thought initially, like when it happened, I was like, what? Come on. This is terrible. We got to, we need to change our approach to rain and to rain tires, and my initial reaction while I'm watching the race is, I don't like this yellow. I want the drivers to drive and the crew chiefs to crew chief. They got the tires in the pit. If they think they need wets, then they can call their own ass down pit road and get their wets. If they need to stay out there and manage it on dries because it's not quite wet enough and some of the tracks, whatever, right? I wanted to see the drivers manage the conditions and be drivers and be put in a tough situation and figure it out. And the crew chiefs manage the strategy as we know they can. And it feels like to me in that moment now, this is when it's happening, like NASCAR's holding their hand, like walking their little kid into the classroom. And I use that analogy because I just dropped Isla off at her school. But that's my gut reaction in the moment. But then I talked to some spotters and some people that were there. I was watching it on TV, and some of the conversations I've had with drivers or spotters that were there at the racetrack paint a different story. That the rain and the track and the conditions didn't convey across the TV, right? what I was seeing on TV didn't look that bad, but what they were seeing in person warranted the reaction that NASCAR had. Like, let's throw this yellow because this part of the track's wet, and this is the rules that we put in place to when this type of situation happens. We have this protocol, and that we've told the drivers, agreed with the RTA or whatever, and we must follow this protocol. And so I kind of, I understand that per how things are set up as far as the rules or the protocol, they did what they were supposed to do and what they said they would do, what the drivers expected, what the teams expect, okay? Still, going forward, I think there might be a better way. When I ask some of the people that are there performing in the race, in the people that are in the industry, like, why can't we just let the team sort it out, right? If it starts raining somewhere, why can't the drivers just go, hey, I need to slow down and manage these tougher conditions? The crew chief can figure out when and when not to put rain tires on. The people that are racing in the race say that that's not realistic. That the drivers don't have enough experience. We don't have enough experience with these cars in the wet on slicks, and that you're going to have chaos. Cars crashing into walls, into each other, getting stuck, getting off course everywhere, right? While that would be entertaining to see, it would probably be as frustrating as what we really saw Sunday. The caution that sort of turned the field inside out and jumbled everything else and changed the whole complexity of the race. That's probably what we would have got anyways had they not thrown the yellow. So while I hope, I guess my hope is that one day we can get to a place to where the governing body NASCAR doesn't have to throw that yellow. I hope that somehow, we can develop further enough as a series to where the drivers manage the conditions, the crew chiefs, and they determine when they want to change tires and when not to, and nobody needs to throw a yellow to sort of help us, through this time, through those situations. I think for me, it's fun and entertaining to see the teams and drivers work through that difficult part of the conditions, the weather, and all that. I mean, we see it in so many other. Now they do throw yellows. With that said, we see. I guess I'm kind of wanting what I see in IMSA, but IMSA does that too. When it rains super hard, they'll throw the yellow. They'll red flag the race when there's. I've been in the 24 Hours of Daytona when they red flag the race because of the rain, or when they we ran under yellow for hours. That with Tony Stewart and me and Wallace, we were under yellow for 3 or 4 hours in the middle of the night because of the rain. Wow. So, all right, there's arguments for both sides. It was frustrating as hell when it happened, but I kind of after having some conversations with some people that were there, I got a different opinion about it.
I can't imagine it being a worse scenario than having to be under caution for 3 hours in the rain. That would be awful.
Yeah.
All right, our next question coming from Albert Shivers. Hey, Dale, what do you know about singer Marty Robbins' short career in NASCAR?
I know probably as much as anybody else and no more, right? The one thing that, this would be, if Marty were here today, we could talk about it and have him. He'd be an amazing guest to have in this show because there's a lot of gaps and holes that I'd love to fill. That I just don't know about his career. He raced at the fairgrounds in Nashville and ran in, I guess, what is today the late model stock or late model sportsman or super late models. He ran in the top class there and apparently was very successful and had a lot of fun and a lot of success at that racetrack. And that led to either him being encouraged or him, seeking I don't know how he ended up in the Cup Series. One way or another, he did. He bought cars from different teams. I think he bought Dodges from the Petties, and he bought a Buick from Junior Johnson. He had different cars that were usually hand-me-down or a year old or 2-year-old. and he'd go out there and compete. And I don't know that he had a ton of success in the Cup Series. I don't know his stats, but in the races that I've watched, he was just kind of a journeyman-style racer and a bit of an independent, if you will. And, I don't know much else about his career. Unfortunately, something we ought to dig into to try to figure out more. We need to do that because he was a successful country singer, and I think a lot of people look at his Cup career in much the same way they might look at Jerry Glanville, our guest today, as a guy that had a totally different life and just dabbled in racing and because he could, right? But no, I think Marty Robbins has a career at the fairgrounds and raced there for so many years, very hard, rugged racing, week in and week out, kind of cut his teeth the same way that any other race car driver today cuts their teeth. So his story, I think, is a little more robust than a lot of people might give it credit for.
One more question from Sam Green. With the recent addition of the 1987 NASCAR stock cars to iRacing, do you think it's possible that other older cars could be added in the future?
Well, I do have I do have a little bit more of a closer connection to iRacing and have a better understanding of sort of the direction they're going to go. And I don't know that we'll have any other older stock cars coming into the service over the next several years, but I would just say that there's always new content. I really don't know how to answer that question. I don't think that we'll have. There's not another. There's not another stock car in the pipeline. Older cars, other historic cars. I'm not real sure what the interest is across the service for what potentially could be created, but they're going to keep building tracks, keep building cars. Hopefully, it's all. I kind of enjoy the current stuff, driving what's out there today, and trying to understand what especially stuff overseas. I think that there's a lot of interest in more racetracks overseas and outside the U.S. Also, as far as content, cars, vehicles, a lot of interest in cars overseas and outside the U.S. as well. So we'll see.
All right, guys.
All right. I appreciate everybody for some great questions again this week. Thanks for being a part of our show and helping us create a lot of great content for the Dale Jr. Download. And Jerry Glanville was in here earlier this morning. He was great. Pretty interesting guy for sure. If you know Jerry as the coach for the Atlanta Falcons or as a race car driver, he did race several years in the Truck Series and the Busch Series. I raced against him. He had a lot of great stories. Colorful guy. So look forward to seeing what you guys think about the podcast that comes out later tonight. We'll see you later. Have a great week.